Salutations, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. V back with another Age of Empires 3 Thursday, number 18 in our humble little series, and we are on the map Arabia this week, which is one of my favorite maps, and we also happen to be featuring two of the best players in our community. So I'm really excited for this matchup. Let's get right into our player introductions. In the south of the map, playing in the color blue as the Spanish, we have none other than Piroshikids or Piroshikids. I'm gonna go with Piro just because I don't quite know how to pronounce it and it saves me a lot of time. But he is in fact playing as the Spanish, getting that early trading post down immediately. And in the north of the map, his opponent playing in the color red as the civilization of Portugal. We have none other than Melkor Isgoat, otherwise known as Revnak. Now, I think we all know Revnak's reputation as one of the best players in our community, if not in the entire history of this game, but don't sleep on Piro. He is also a fantastic player, one of the best we currently have. So, both players are playing as Iberian civilizations, Spain and Portugal, so we have an Iberian showdown here on Arabia. Now, why is Arabia one of my favorite maps? Well, a couple of things. Number one, I like the short rush distance. All right, speak English, Mr. V, please. Because I really like action-packed games that are somewhat quick. You know, they move at a fast pace. So having this short distance between the two players is always fun. And this middle kind of area with the two coin mines in between all of the trading posts is always a great place. You're going to see a lot of contesting for forward bases and map control. Always great to see. And then the trading post itself, the fact that both players have equal access to it, that always makes for kind of a fun contest of who is going to dominate the trading post line. Seeing as we have Spain and Portugal, I think they're both going to have a very vested interest in taking as many of these as they can, because obviously both civs like trading posts quite a bit. Now, Portugal did send Feitourias as his first card, and Revnak already going up to the second age, 2 minutes and 40 seconds in. Now, he is 10-10ing, which allows him to have that kind of speed, but it is going to give him a distinct advantage in his age-up time. Meanwhile, Piroshikids did send 3 settlers, followed by capitalism with that extra XP trickle that he gets from the Spanish civilization. So capitalism has kind of become the meta, and that coin trickle is proving to be favorable for a lot of Spanish players. Also picking up 85 food, gonna make his transition possibly into the third age even faster. But it has to be said, Revnak is going to be in the second age significantly sooner than his opponent. And looking at his deck, I'm seeing a lot of age 3 cards here. He does have some age 2 units that I doubt he'll send unless he gets pressured. He has some upgrades, some economic upgrades. He's got economic theory, he's got spice trade, and he's got his standard 700 coin, 700 wood, but a lot in the third age here. So I would expect to see something very, very age 3 or maybe even age 4 centered. And the town center's down. Looks like he went with the 500 food, and there it is, the 700 coin coming out right away. So I think we're going to be seeing something from Revnak, definitely age 3 oriented. But look at this, Piroshikids catching that town center. Looks like it was just in his field of vision, and now he's following it. I wonder, is he going to try to put on some early damage to the foundation? Of course, units put, I think, 4 times as much damage on buildings when they're being built as when they are fully constructed. So even taking a couple swings at that wagon, Revnak going for a very, very aggressive town center placement. I mean, here is Piro's front trading post, and here is the town center less than a screen away. So maybe we're going to be seeing some age 3 aggression here, or maybe Revnak is just trying to take as much map control in the early game as he can. I've watched a lot of Revnak games, and I've noticed that while he plays well in almost all circumstances, Revnak, there is a distinct level of play when he has map control versus when he is on the defensive. And I've just noticed that when he has the initiative, Revnak just strikes me as a much better player than when he is on the back foot and he has to turtle, as opposed to somebody like Kanisi who likes being in that position. He likes being the guy that has to defend against waves and waves of attacks. So I think Revnak taking map control is playing into his strengths here, But Piro making the smart move, putting up his outpost in front, definitely wants to defend that trading post. And Revnak is already going up to age 3, over halfway aged. It's the 5-minute 30 mark. Meanwhile, Piro, just sending his 700 wood, almost has the resources to age himself. And I wonder, no. Okay, so he did that without sending the 700 coin. So that capitalism card definitely kicking in there. But I think, yep, there it is. So Piro is going up to age 3 as well. His 700 wood is out. So yes, Revnak is ahead in his build order, but the economic advantage definitely goes to Piro. 23 vills versus just 14 for Revnak. And look at this town center placement. That is so, I mean, those are literally right next to each other. There's no space. I don't even think you could get a unit in between those two buildings. So this is going to be a powerhouse position for Revnak. It's going to be very, very hard for Piro to try to drive Revnak off of this forward base, simply because Revnak will have shipments, he'll have Minutemen from both town centers, and the 5 Dragoons are already out at the 6-minute 30 mark. I think they're going to start looking for some settlers, but Piro, being a high-level player, has done an excellent job hurting, and I don't think he's going to lose any settlers. Is going to lose his explorer, so poor Juan de Cortés is going to go down 45 XP for Revnak, and that's going to allow him to send 1,000 wood as his next shipment. So not going uber aggressive. I think he wants to spend some time to build up his economy, build up his infrastructure, and definitely catch up to Piro, who is still 3 vills ahead. Now, Revnak has definitely gotten time to catch up because he's producing from 3 town centers. And look at this, ladies and gentlemen, walls equal wins. And we're already seeing the walling from Revnak. Now, whether you love it or you hate it, you can't deny that Revnak uses walls in a way that allows him to win a lot of games. And it looks like he's going to wall off this center of the map. Now, he cannot wall it off completely because of this trade line. However, if he can deny access to these forward hunts, it means that once Piro runs out of the 2 hunts in his base, he is going to be in a distinct lack of food. And he's going to have to go way north here, and these hunts can definitely be pressured by any units that come from these 2 town centers. A stable and a market coming out. That's kind of that's really forward for a market. I guess he's confident that he's going to hold this position. More houses going down, so Revnak actually putting up a lot of infrastructure here. I don't know if I love that choice, simply because if Piro ever does drive off the units and the military buildings, Revnak's going to lose a lot of economic infrastructure that he won't be able to defend. Now, granted, he has 2 town centers to defend it with, so that's going to be a tall order for Piro. What's Piro doing? Putting down a town center of his own, 2 town centers of his own. Looks like he didn't send a wagon. How did he get those? I must be out of my mind. How did he get 2 town centers? Okay, I must be going crazy. But he did send the fort, is going to be constructing Fuerza de Alicia. So Piro definitely on the defensive here. Meanwhile, sending the Viceroyalty of New Spain, which gives him the 2 Hacienda wagons. And gonna be interesting to see, is he going to try to match the economic potential of Portugal? Meanwhile, Revnak getting the 3 organ guns along with more dragoons. That is such a nice combination. And for Spain, it's going to be a little bit tough to deal with because, you know, the normal Spain composition, which is, you know, your Lancer, Skirm, Rod combo, it's going to be really hard to deal with organ guns and dragoons with that combination. Even getting a Vil pick off there, very nice for Revnak. And he was able to take out the trading post. Hacienda's going up in Piro's vase, so Piro is a bit on the back foot here, and we can already see that the food is starting to get a little scarce. He's got about this one, well, how much food does he have here? I would say he has about 800 to 1,000 food there before he starts running low, and he will have to move out. Meanwhile, these organ guns doing a number on the Spanish base, and right now, Spain just doesn't have an answer. Making some musketeers from his fort, which is actually the only military infrastructure he has right now. So definitely wants to get down some stables, maybe even some barracks, get out some units. He is a little bit low on wood. Meanwhile, Melkor has sent 1,000 coin. He has sent 5 Dragoons, he's sent 3 organ guns, and that is it so far. But yeah, Revnak has definitely cornered off a nice chunk of the map and is going to just eat up all of those resources very quickly, because Portugal just eats through food so fast. So even if Pirro is able to retake this center at some point, there's not going to be a lot of resources left for him to reclaim. And look at this cheeky fella. Revnak, you dirty dog. He's even starting to take Pirro's 3rd and 4th hunts. So I think Revnak sees what situation Pirro's in. He realizes that Pirro is starting to gather in these hunts, and he wants to make sure that he can cut off his opponent from as much food as possible. Meanwhile, more musketeers coming out from Pirro. The organ guns getting a little bit exposed here. Definitely doesn't want to get them trapped by some sort of lancer pop. And 2 falconets are on the way for Pirro. Those are going to be a great counter to the organ guns, though they will have to be careful around any of the dragoons. Revnak has now scouted these musketeers, so he knows that his enemy has Age 2 heavy infantry, and I wouldn't be surprised to see some Cassadors come out in response. He does have a barracks down, he is making Cassadors, and he's also going up to the 4th age. Okay, so I was a little bit curious because I saw that Revnak wasn't producing a lot of units, and it's because he was going up to the industrial age, getting amalgamation as well. So Pirro, if he doesn't make something happen here, Pirro's going to be in a rough spot, simply because he doesn't have map control. He's going to be behind on age techs, and when it comes to villagers, 59 versus 49, so he still has a vill lead, but if these vills run out of huntables, that vill lead is not going to mean much. So in terms of military, Pirro does have about 15 musketeers and the 2 cannons to Revnak's 7 dragoons, 5 Cassadors, and 3 organ guns. So both players not going too heavily into military as of yet. And yeah, Spain, I really like what Pirro's doing here with the 3TC build, because it's allowing him to not only keep up with Revnak's 3TCs, but it's allowing him to actually keep the early lead that he got in the 1st age. However, Revnak is now sending a factory, which is going to boost his economy significantly, and I wonder if he's going to start getting any upgrades. Definitely wants to get his Dragoon upgrade. He has Dragoon Combat in his deck. He also has Gunpowder Infantry to upgrade his Cassadors. He has Constable for his Hussar, I believe. So could have some really, really powerful Portuguese units coming on down the line if Revnak gets a chance to send some more cards. Meanwhile, Pirro is not in the industrial age, though he is saving up a lot of resources, 1,600 food, 900 coin. So I think Pirro realizes what's happening and he wants to follow up with an age up of his own, but it's not going to be easy. Meanwhile, House of Trastamara coming up, and the next age up for Spain will be much cheaper. Or sorry, not cheaper. What is it? Yes, it is. So his next age up is cheaper and faster. So a really nice adjustment here by Pirro. And look how fast that age 4 is ticking down. He's aging with the engineer. What a cool play there. I think Pirro is doing a great job thinking on his feet. But Revnak, the cheeky devil, more walls. This guy and his walls. And he's even walling up this side. Walls equal wins. Can we get it in the chat, please? Please comment below. Walls equal wins. It's a fact of life, and it's a fact of Age of Empires 3. But Pirro is gonna get into the 4th age with some Hussar. He still has the 2 Falconets as well as the Musketeers. Still no military infrastructure besides his fort, which I find to be very entertaining. And he has another Falconet from the age up. I think he's going to start trying to push out here, but I just don't think he has the units. And now we have mortars coming out from Revnak. 3 mortars are going to start wasting Fuerza de Elicia, which normally would be bad, but considering that it's also the sole military production facility, is really bad for Pirro. He's going to get the Falconets here, but they might get picked off by the Dragoons. A nice shot there from the Horde of Dragoons. Going to take out at least 1 Falconet, but the Musketeers are getting in, putting in some shots on the Dragoons. I think these Falconets are going to go down quite quickly. They've got to focus on the Cassadors, who are starting to melt these H2 Musketeers, and a really nice take for Revnak, killing 3 of the 4 Falconets, might even get the 4th one down here. Yes, all 4 going down, though Puro actually able to get a decent trade there, taking out a lot of Dragoons with those H2 Musketeers. And now, what is Puro gonna do? Sending his heavy cannons, the fort is down, stable in the back, Hussars are being built, but against this many Portuguese Dragoons, I don't know what Hussars are gonna accomplish. Meanwhile, the longer he waits, the more those mortars batter at his base, and he has no room to retreat. He can't just go back and build because he's so stuffed in this corner of the map that Revnak is going to be able to destroy this town with impunity unless Puro does something here. I don't know. What can he do? He's got the 2 heavy cannons. I mean, oh, look at this. He's got 1,500 wood, 1,000 coin. Is this guy gearing up for a revolt? Is that what's going to happen here? I think, ladies and gentlemen, I think he's going to revolt. 2 heavy cannons coming out from Revnak, so much artillery here, along with 3 culverins and a decent-sized group of Dragoons to protect them, but there's a lot of vulnerable artillery there. If Puro can somehow take out these Dragoons, oh, all the villagers are coming forward, and there's the revolt, ladies and gentlemen. Now 62 revolutionaries suddenly appearing on the map. The Hussars coming in, who are now Hussars of Death, and the Dragoons are falling down one by one. The artillery is being melted. The Castadors are being obliterated. The revolutionaries moving in on the mortars, and the Dragoons trying to keep them at bay, but the revolutionaries actually fairly decent against the Dragoons, and the mortars are going to go down. The Spanish town is going to be saved, although it did lose a lot of infrastructure. The 2 heavy cannons now being brought up to reinforce, and this might be exactly the push that Puro needs, although he's got a lot of infrastructure he's going to have to chew through in order to reclaim the center of the map. But these revolutionaries actually do a decent amount of siege damage. Let's see, they have 20 siege attacks, so actually going to be able to pull down these buildings relatively quickly with the help of the heavy cannons. And the Hussars of Death just making sure that the Dragoons are not able to get behind his line, running interference. Very nice there. Minutemen coming out just from the 1 town center, and now the stone wall upgrade is in. Walls equal wins. Let's see if it comes to pass. The Hussars of Death gonna be able to get on those Minutemen, but Puro pulling back here, I don't think that's the right call. I think he needs to push. I think if he doesn't use the momentum from this revolt, he is going to lose for sure. Now the horse artillery is out for Revnak, and this is an insane game, ladies and gentlemen, so high level. But this town center, I believe, is going to go down. Still a lot of revolutionaries on the map, 50 revolutionaries. Meanwhile, Revnak is sending a fort, getting heavy horse guns. So getting the artillery upgrade, which is going to allow these artillery to be very, very effective. And Puro definitely needs to keep those revolutionaries at a safe distance. Meanwhile, look at that volley. The Hussars trying to get in, but the walls keeping them at bay. Dragoons are going to get some free damage there. Very nice from Revnak. And like I said, whether you hate walls or you love walls, you cannot deny their effectiveness. Some people find them to be cheap. Some people find them to be useful. I myself am kind of in the middle camp. I think yes, they're frustrating. I think yes, they can be used in a way that's really annoying, but I don't think you can deny that they are part of the game and they're supposed to be used. Meanwhile, the Dragoons coming in, gonna get a shot on this heavy cannon, and the Revolutionaries actually doing a decent job keeping them at bay. A lot of Dragoons going down there. Maybe a little bit of sloppy play by Revnak. Maybe just got a little too obsessed with trying to take out that heavy cannon. But the Hussars just trying to get through these walls as quick as they can, and some of the Revolutionaries even finding a gap. Ladies and gentlemen, is the mighty Revnak starting to slip? He left a hole in his wall. Wow. This might be the beginning of the end. Oh, just kidding. But the Hussars of Death are going to get past that last layer wall. Both heavy cannons are still alive, and it looks like Puro is just going to continue sending, what, revolutionaries? Yeah, he's got the 16 revolutionaries in his deck. He's just going to keep sending those. Ooh, sneaky little town center down here, but yeah, wow. Puro is eating his way through a lot of this infrastructure. I mean, he's taken out 2 town centers, a bunch of walls, a stable, an artillery foundry, a second artillery foundry. The barracks is now going down. And Revnak kind of panicking a little bit here, putting up more walls, moving his vills to the back, getting his heavy horse guns out. But I'm wondering if Puro's push is starting to kind of run out of steam here. He now has 0 vills, whereas Melkor, aka Revnak, is at 50. So the longer Revnak can sit and outproduce Piro, the worse it's going to get. Now, yes, Piro does have those pretty powerful revolutionary shipments, but they can only get you so far, especially when Piro currently has 0 trading posts to bolster his XP. But yeah, that was a really great push by Piro. And it's why when, I was first watching this game, I know a lot of people see Revnak play and they think, oh, well, it's going to be a Revnak win. But this just goes to show there are not only people that can compete with Revnak in our community, but there are people that can stand against him and even get him on the back foot. I mean, I've seen Revnak lose quite a few games, so I still really enjoy watching Revnak play simply because, games of this level are not always the most common to find. So really love Piro's play here, really love Revnak's play. Just, 2 great players going at it. Meanwhile, I'll get off my compliment train here. The heavy cannons are a little bit vulnerable, but the good dragoons, are going to get caught. 3 dragoons going down there. So Piro doing a very nice job microing his revolutionaries and his heavy cannons. I'm really surprised these are both still alive, seeing as how long they've been on the map. But the Hussar count is definitely weakened. His heavy cav is, well, he's down to maybe 10 Hussar or so. Which I think if Revnak continues to invest in artillery, I think he's just going to be able to out-artillery the 2 heavy cannons, and then the revolutionaries are just going to be toast. So I think that's what Revnak's planning on. He's got heavy horse guns, another town center going up. Where is his military infrastructure? More walls, because Revnak. But yeah, I think he's content to just kind of let Piro mess around in the middle of the map while he rebuilds. And this is the point of the game where I think Piro is a little bit adrift, and I don't think he's sure on what he should do, right? If there's just walls everywhere and buildings everywhere, where do you centralize? Where do you focus your forces? And that can be a tough decision for a lot of players. So I think that initial wave, while it's still powerful, I definitely think it's lost most of its steam. And the fact that Revnak's been allowed to rebuild so much infrastructure, I think is really going to pan out in his favor as this game continues. But Piro definitely not being idle, definitely trying to find good targets, but more walls coming up. Look at how many walls. Do a quick pan around the map. There are walls freaking everywhere. Oh my gosh. And the horse guns, because of all these walls, are able to single-handedly keep this army at bay, although the army is still quite intact. And Piro continuing to send 16 revolutionaries. Revnak is now kind of down to his lesser shipments, so sending gunpowder infantry, which is still a good shipment, but he's kind of run out of all of his H4 and H3 cards. More walls going down. Doesn't matter. Revnak is the king of walls. Well, actually, I don't know who is the technical king of walls. My 2 candidates are Revnak and Callan, because I've heard Callan can do things with walls that you wouldn't believe. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. Meanwhile, Legion Dragoons are now out on the map. I wore out my voice in that last fight. It's so gravelly. But the Revolutionaries trying to keep them at bay, but these Dragoons are quite strong, and the heavy horse guns are starting to do a number on these Revolutionaries. Oh, a volley going in there, doing quite a bit of area damage. Although I thought Revnak had more artillery than that. Where's the rest of his guns? Where are the guns? He's putting up mills. So the late game transition has officially begun. And oh my goodness, look at this fight here. The Revnak artillery totally getting annihilated by those Hussar of Death. I must have missed some sort of maneuver there, but Revnak getting completely outflanked. And Piro, despite having no vills, or actually he has 16 vills, excuse me, against Revnak 77 is still posing a significant threat. And the Hussars just trying to raid, although you're not going to get any villagers with this many walls up. whether you love it or hate it. Look at this one musketeer. This one age 2 musketeer. Buddy, you are you are out of your league, but you attack that wall, buddy. You make your country proud. For España. More walls going down. 7,500 HP. I mean, you gotta admit, that's kind of disgusting, right? Whether you like walls or not, that's a little bit gross. If I do have any opinions about walls, I do think stone walls are a bit too strong currently. I think palisades are at a decent spot. However, stone walls, they are a bit ridiculous. That I will freely admit. Oh my gosh, those volleys are just deadly. And I don't really know what Piro does at this point. I think he's pretty much dead. I think, yeah. Yeah, Revnak got too long to recover. He was able to rebuild pretty much his entire infrastructure, and now the revolutionaries going down, the horse guns are doing an absolute slaughter. And that's the game, ladies and gentlemen. An interesting game. I really thought that middle push by Piro was gonna be the straw that broke Revnak's back. But yeah, Revnak just getting a little too much time to retreat and rebuild and get up those controversial walls. But yeah, I mean, they served a great purpose, and he used them well. He was able to use them in a way that allowed him to basically protect his artillery without having to keep his cavalry with them, which allowed his cavalry to roam the map and you know, try to harass Piro and, you know, keep him stretched thin and never allow Piro to focus on one area. So we'll look at all of this stuff more in detail in the post game. Here we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are in the post game. If we go right to the resources tab, of course, Revnak taking a huge lead once Piro revolted. So about 40,000 resources, but we got to take that with a pinch of salt since, well, Piro didn't have villagers for a long portion of the game. I want to go to the military tab because Piro actually getting out a significant number of military units, 177 to 121, and the kills were very even. So I think Piro, when it came to military engagements, matched Revnak blow for blow. And in some cases, I think that Piro's micro was actually a little bit crisper than Revnak's, especially in that first fight where he popped the villagers into revolutionaries, he got the Hussar, and he was able to take out that huge batch of artillery wailing on his base. So if I were to say anything about Piro's play against one of the best players in our community right now, I would have to say that, you know, Piro, his micro, very strong. However, he just got outproduced. And when we look at the timeline here, you know, of course, the villager count drops rapidly. Revnak actually lost quite a few vills, but was able to build them up quite quickly thanks to the amount of town centers he was able to get up. And then when we look at the military population, soars for Piro, and then slowly falls, gets chipped away by the dragoons and the cannons. And then as we get to the late game, it seems like just kind of ran out of steam, right? He had no trading posts, so the shipments were not coming in super quickly. And it just, again, it allowed Revnak to rebuild. And I feel like I'm saying kind of the same points over and over. So I will end it there. Revnak, thank you so much for providing these replays. I really appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this high-level game. I will be back with another replay next Thursday. But until then, have a great day. Have a great life. See you later.